welcome everyone again. This is Leaders Uncut, and so happy today to have with us Mahesh Ramanujam, who is the CEO of Global Network for Zero. Hello, Mahesh. How are you doing today?
How are you, Catherine? Wonderful to be here with you on Leaders Uncut.
Thank you so much. It's so great to have you. My God, you are doing something that is so critical with your company. And so you're the world's premier independent net zero certification body, right? And you're really leading the global decarbonization movement, which, oh my God, it's such a critical aspect of the evolution of our planet here. So why don't we start by you giving us a little bit of your background and then telling us about the reason why you launched the Global Network for Zero.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks again. It's wonderful to always speak about the progress we have made in the past couple of decades. But just to start myself, as you rightly introduced, my name is Mahesh Ramanujam. I hail from the southern part of India, from a wonderful city called Chennai. And of course, I grew up in, I would say, not with so much, because my parents were really working very hard to meet our ends meet. My father made an equivalent of $50 and US dollars a month. But my parents worked tirelessly to provide me and my brother a great platform through the education that I've acquired. And that has significantly improved our lives. And that paved my path to GNFC, USGBC, GBCI, IBM, Lenovo, all these wonderful career transitions I've made throughout my life. Thanks to my parents, I was able to make those type of progress because of their sacrifices. So I always remember to pay it forward. That is one of my goals in my life, and thanks to my parents. My professional career started with a software company called Newgen Software Technologies, and I am a computer science engineer from Annamalai University in India. And while participating in the Indian company, I eventually transitioned to US, and in the US I co-founded multiple companies, and eventually I stepped down as a chief operating officer of Emergis Corp, a consulting company, while working at IBM and Lenovo and other wonderful companies. Then my career took me into a complete turn into the US Green Building Council, where I went to actually do technology transformation to help the US Green Building Council do some wonderful mission building in the marketplace. Now, that journey was so pivotal in my career that I was able to actually transform the market, the green building market, through LEED. And the most important work that we did there was to basically able to democratize LEED. LEED as not only the leadership standard, but as the baseline standard that more than 182 countries could adopt, embrace, and scale. So all around the world, today we have LEED buildings, thanks to our efforts in the last 15 years, along with our community, USGBC community, that we were able to make green building a mainstream concept. That means millions of carbon emissions reduced, tons and tons of wastage avoided from landfills, energy saved in probably million units of electricity, saving gallons of water, and most importantly, helping people understand that the status quo buildings are harmful to the environment. But we can actually build better buildings by conserving resources and then really scale up that vision. So that journey at GBC also allowed me to democratize the ESG aspect of for the real estate through the organization GRISP that I acquired in 2013, and eventually served as its chairman until I exited GRISP in 2020. But phenomenal progress, phenomenal giving back to the society, and most importantly, being able to work with so many wonderful people around the world to be able to drive this ultimate mission of green buildings for everyone within this generation. So
yeah, thank you so much. That's wonderful. Wow. I mean, this is great. So you're serving as the unifier on all aspects of the digital transformation, which obviously has a measurable climate action as to the center of your initiative here. You just mentioned the wonderful partners that you're working with. So who are those partners? Who is your target audience? What are your short-term initiatives?
So when I left USGBC, just to give you a little bit of leeway into where I am today, is that we actually transitioned in the post-COVID era to actually focus on zero, basically zero carbon emissions. And then, of course, coming from the building sector, I always thought the building sector is where I should do the maximum work, right? By transforming existing buildings, because there are tons and tons of buildings that need to be decarbonized. So who were my target audience before and who are my target audience now? It is very interesting shift we made. When we were at US Green Building Council, when we were in real estate, my target audience was architects, engineers, contractors, developers, investors, product manufacturers, and of course, occupants who occupy these buildings. And then in the residential sector, definitely the builders, and most importantly, the residents in those buildings. But after starting Global Network for Zero, I realized we cannot do decarbonization in silo. That means the real estate sector that connects all other sectors creates an enormous opportunity and a stepping stone and a foundation to be able to drive decarbonization across the board. What do I mean by that? Businesses, buildings, communities, cities, products, processes, services, everything must be decarbonized for us to be able to hit the 2050 target. So this is the initiative we are working on. We are scaling up significantly by working across these domains. That means that my target audience expanded. Business leaders, product manufacturers, people who are process engineers, and actually looking at highly carbon intensive industries like steel, glass, cement, and really being able to work with those leaders to drive the transformation. So at a big level, we are a B2B, we serve the B2B market, but in the B2B market, different leaders who care about sustainability as a mission and who want to embed sustainability and the decarbonization journey as part of the strategic roadmap becomes our target audience.
Yes, and I would imagine you have to work hand in hand with the government as well there, because it's of course part of their major initiatives, right?
Of course, as you know very well, without policy, many of these things will not accelerate. Policy gives certainty. Policy is also a little bit of a raises the bar on what the minimum is. So while we are pushing the market to go beyond, but we need a floor, and always the government relationship sets. And government is also a customer. Government is also a target audience, because there are government assets that also need to be decarbonized. So you're absolutely government is also a key participant in addition to the private sector. Yeah,
for sure. So obviously innovation plays a huge role in climate solutions. What's the most exciting innovation you've seen emerge recently in the climate tech space?
I think there are many examples in the climate tech space. What I feel like the key innovation that is emerging very, very fast is this whole accelerated deployment of the solar technology, the renewable energy technology, the battery technology, that is all working in harness to really reduce the overall energy emissions, and at the same time meeting the energy demand. And of course, artificial intelligence, IoT, the smart technologies are actually playing a very integral role in being able to accelerate these journeys. Because with AI, obviously, AI is able to accelerate almost everything. So we are able to quickly build up subject matter expertise. We are quickly scale up that subject matter expertise to actually towards decision making and to act on those decision making as well. So I think the most prominent and dominant technology happening is, I think, AI on everything is something that I would say, obviously, fueled by these fundamental technologies like these renewable energy and other spectrums.
Yeah, no, of course. I mean, I was expecting that you would say AI, of course, because AI is everywhere, right? It's invading our world now. So that's pretty normal that you mentioned that. Now, what do you see as the biggest challenge here? And also, what do you see as the biggest opportunity facing the net zero movement today?
I think it has always been the favorite one for the last 15 years I've been working in this space. We could not have enough education to people, right? So our strategy is very simple: educate, implement, celebrate. That reflects the problem statement. The problem statement is education, even for the most sophisticated leaders, on why decarbonization is important and how to do an effective decarbonization. Then once you do it, implementation becomes important. And as you know very well, business leaders, and you touched on digital transformation, they all need the digital backbone to be built in, which means that what gets measured gets done, what gets done gets improved, what gets improved gets replicated, and what gets replicated actually gets the job done, right, at the end of the day. So when you look at it from that perspective, good quality implementation is still a challenge because there's a lot of work that takes a lot of money, and that should not happen as a secondary thought to a business. It has to happen in conjunction with its core business strategy. So being able to interlink it is part of the strategy. Then last but not the least, a lot of bad news gets good marketing, but good news doesn't get a good marketing. So I believe in big storytelling about it. One of the things that, I think you're doing a wonderful job of doing that through the show. But the most important aspect is that leaders need to speak very loudly and clearly about their success stories and the lessons they have learned. And that actually moves the market. That is something that I've seen with the green building movement. And that is something I'm a big believer of. The storytelling aspect of really celebrating good work is also important. So that's the obstacle, right?
Yeah, that makes sense. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But opportunities is very simple. Decarbonization is a business efficiency issue.
Yeah.
Decarbonization is a business productivity issue. Decarbonization is a business relevance issue. And decarbonization is an innovation paradigm for businesses to innovate, right? Yeah. So who said the plastic has to damage the environment? Who said you cannot use water responsibly? Who said that you have to generate only energy through bad sources of energy that emits emissions? All these are opportunities for businesses to build new business models, and while simultaneously protecting the environment. That is the greatest opportunity. And then we can never forget, after the post-COVID world, that caring about our fellow human beings and leaving a better place is the biggest opportunity we can create for everybody who's following us.
And that's very well said. Like you said, we have to take care of our planet, our world. We have only one, although we know we may be traveling to other planets anytime soon. It looks like it's coming too, right? That's for sure. Part of our evolution, but for now we still have to take care of this planet that we are on. And you mentioned a point that's very important. You mentioned strategy, that it has to be part of strategic initiatives of businesses all over the world. And also what I would imagine would be something that you address all the time when you speak with your target audiences or your clients, is to really emphasize the sense of urgency in implementing those new strategies. So is that something that you work on with your clients? You help them adjust their strategies to implement those initiatives that you're working on?
Yes, I think, every organization has its own trajectory, as you know very well.
Right.
Some people want to be leaders. Some people want to be followers. Some people want to observe and then act. So there is a mixed bag of strategic execution happening all around. But
is your marketing making an impact? Are you reaching the right audience? Is your messaging truly connecting? Are you maximizing your return on investment? At Slice Marketing, we use AI-powered insights to fine-tune your targeting, optimize your messaging, design high-converting websites, and craft content that inspires, entertains, and educates, or to amplify your brand's impact. Sometimes a small adjustment can create big results. Let's chat, no strings attached. Email us at catherine.oaks@slicemarketing.com or visit our website.
The most important work that we try to do to the clients every day is to tell them that get started. That is our number one strategy we recommend to everybody, right? Yeah. And get started from where it differs for different people. So like when you have achieved 90%, we said that get started to get to 100%. And when you have achieved zero, we tell them to get started to move away from zero. So I always say that our strategy is to operate between 0 to 0. So in that paradigm, we always ask our clients to recheck their strategy and benchmark it against their peers, right? The peers could be different. Like for a small, medium business that's struggling to actually be able to be relevant and make its profits and pay its payroll, coming back and giving them a very disruptive strategy that is very aspirational is not going to cut it because they are on the survival mode. So we tell them that, look, if you want to survive, these are the 3 steps you take so that you get better business, you can do a better job, and you can still make some money. Then at the same time, on the other side of the paradigm, when there is leadership, we tell them benchmark yourself, create a benchmark for the market so that the market itself can be transformed. So you're absolutely right. Strategy is critical. But customizing that strategy or right sizing the strategy based on the target audience pocket is even more important. That is something that we work very eagerly with everybody.
That is critical, because I would imagine it depends on the business you're in, but it can be also a long-term initiative. It's not going to happen overnight, right? So what can you tell us about the process, and in average, how long does it take to have strategic initiatives put in place to make progress as quickly as possible to reach those goals?
I think because the process itself is not complicated, right? Okay. So the first step in our process is do your emissions profile assessment, right? Let's talk about ourselves. If I told you, Catherine, what's your carbon footprint? You probably will say, like, what do you mean by a carbon footprint? Assuming that you are a very, very new person to this concept. So obviously, once you get educated, you start thinking about it, start scribing, and you will know that where your carbon footprint is coming in my shopping, in my driving, in my eating, in my house, in my energy use. That becomes a very quick checklist that you can actually map out. And you don't need to be accurate, but you already started thinking about it. So that exercise itself is not difficult. Even for the most complicated organization, I don't think it's more than 90 days, right? That's a very easy step you take because it's data driven. So once you have that baseline, then you start thinking about what do I need to do to make those changes? And I think a decent timeline for a mid-sized company would be 7 to 10 years to get to a critical mass of progress. I'm not talking about 10%, I'm not talking about 12%, but a solid progress of 55 to 60%, where you can say that, look, I am making progress towards my end goal, which is 0, that is 100%. Then I think a 15-year timeline is something very practical. Why I'm giving a 15-year timeline is because of this reason. We are in 2025. If you don't get it done by 2040, then you have to compress a lot in the last 10 years, right? That 10 years is crucial period. If you don't get it done, then there may be legal repercussions, compliance issues, there may be loss of business, there may be loss of reputation, and maybe loss of relevance also, right? Because the world that we are moving towards. So if you try to put a plan and if you try to work on it, this plan, regardless of the size of the company, you can get it done in 15 years. But we are not recommending that you go big bang, like right the way you pointed out. Take a long-term approach, but keep it within the limits of this Paris Agreement of 2050 and give yourself a decent buffer and then get it done.
Yeah, no, that is true. But like you mentioned, you have to do a step by step and with a plan that is doable, not that doesn't feel overwhelming, because that can be a challenge. When you feel overwhelmed, you don't do it. But when you have tactical initiatives that are doable, that you can implement over time, then it is possible, right? And that's starting there in order to reach those goals, 7 to 15 years, like you mentioned. It's important to have something that can be easily swallowed. I use the word swallowed, but I think that's exactly what it is. Yeah.
And also it needs to be easy on the pocket, right? Because we don't want people to make these extraordinary investments to get to that milestone. We want them to make ordinary investments as part of their business process. So that the money that they need is found within the business itself. That's the construct. So that is another reason you have to do it slowly and steadily, but over a period of time, but not too long.
That exactly. So how do you keep momentum and morale high when progress can sometimes feel slow or invisible?
I think it is about leadership, right? At the end of the day, every business leader out there is smart enough to know that they have to make their top line work, their bottom line work, their expenses under control. They need to remain competitive. They need to build a brand. And most importantly, they need to make their employees stay engaged and employed. And this topic is no different. So if you think of this as a separate topic, then it's a bad design. If you think of this as an integrated topic, as much as you pay attention to marketing, sales, customer service, warranty, product, innovation, procurement, sustainability, or even I would say decarbonization cannot be an afterthought or a side act, but it has to be your main act.
Hey, there we go. And the question is always, what happens if you don't do it? What happens if you don't plan? What happens if you don't strategize and include this into your overall initiatives? I mean, that's the big question. What happens if you do nothing?
Correct. If you do nothing, I think you'll be okay for a certain amount of time. But then you are actually telling your competitors to take your business away. You are telling that you're not going to guarantee the future of your employees. And you are being, I would say, to a larger extent, to use a little harsh word, you're being irresponsible. That's not what business leaders do. Business leaders get ahead of the problem, and convert that problem into progress and find opportunities. So if you want to stay relevant, you must do it. If you don't want to stay relevant, then obviously this is not for you.
Yes, hey, this is not for you. I don't think people will have a choice. So, but it's important to ask that question and to put people into the right perspective, because
yes.
We often think that we have all the time in the world to launch this type of initiatives when we don't. It's very timely.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we don't have all the time. No. Because, we kept talking about this for the last 40 years.
Yep.
But we are in 2025. So hardly 25 years left. And in 25 years, we saw transformation has happened over a period of time in so many different ways, right? Like if you look at 30 years ago, we didn't know what a mobile phone was, like the one that we carry today. But today, the technology has transcended so much. And during COVID, we saw some harsh conditions, but we were able to find a vaccine and give it to people and turn it around. So the question is not about that you cannot do it. The question is your intentionality, and you must try to make that progress that you're capable of. And I believe that there is enough talent and knowledge out there in the market to realize this goal. We are here to make that happen, and we can build a trend. And the good news is we have tools like AI and other things now available to us to actually accelerate it.
And for sure, it helps. For sure, again, we save so much time and increase our productivity so much that is important. So the one thing I'd like to mention quickly is, before I have another question for you, but what's the big dream for you? What's your vision?
I think the vision is that in 10 years, I want to be able to look at what I've done to the world and say that, look, I helped start this decarbonization movement to the people. I was able to deliver that decarbonization vision to a larger part of the world so that it has been mainstreamed as a core business practice and construct. So nobody is debating about whether I should do it or not, but everybody is doing it. I parallel this with technology, right? Today, no organization in the world, regardless of who they are, cannot say that technology is not part of our business process or a business strategy, and we are not using it. Similarly, I want to be able to make decarbonization a default construct that is no longer an optional thing that the businesses are considering, but they're actually doing it. Now the question is how fast, how smart, how quick. So if I can get them to a platform in 10 years, I think that's a dream that I would feel very happy celebrating on my 60th birthday.
Wonderful. Well, this is what I wish you, for sure. My God, you are quite a story of success and resilience with, like you mentioned before, parents who gave you a chance to go after your dreams, right? I mean, I love those stories, because it tells me that when you have a dream and you put action behind your dreams, anything is possible, right?
Yes.
So having said that, if you had one piece of advice to give to young professionals that are entering the sustainability space, what would that be?
Make things real. So don't sit here and talk about why. The why conversation is over. Now it's about how fast, and most importantly, how cheap. If we can figure the formula out, you are a winner, and you'll be leading this world to a better place.
That is a beautiful thing. That's great, Mahesh. Thank you so much. So if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to connect with you?
So go to our website, globalnetworkforzero.com, and that's where all action is happening. So please join the movement, support the movement, and most importantly, take part in the action.
Okay, that's great. Wonderful. So one last question, and then I'll let you go, continue with your day. I'm sure you have plenty to do. I always ask my guests at the end of our conversations to share a story of resilience. And I know you have shared a few things, but something that really stood out in your life, challenges you had to overcome, and what you learned from it. What would that be, Mahesh, for you?
Yeah, what I learned is that, during this COVID period, when the organization that I was running, which was serving the core real estate sector, imploded. And I looked around, and being in Washington, D.C., more than 80% of nonprofit organizations were under tremendous stress.
Yeah.
And I made this mental commitment that I will stand by my employees, my friends, my family, and I'll make sure that they never, ever have to feel the pain of their job or other constructs. And that was a very stressful period.
Yeah.
That's a commitment I made, and that's a commitment I was able to successfully live by everybody's good wishes and goodwill. But during that period, what I learned was the power of the human potential, The power of somebody realizing that if you put a commitment out there, you will find the way to break through and make that real for the people around you. And during the time, the world was imploding, the world was having so much stress. I experienced so much of negative energy around me. And I saw people all around me struggling for various reasons. There was not one reason, right? Some people were struggling because they were inside the house. Some people were struggling, they had to be outside the house. Some people were not getting vaccines. Some people were not willing to take vaccines. I'm not judging anybody, but there was a lot of turmoil in the world. But there, I was able to stand steady and look at what is important and do the right thing, which I am very proud to say that I did it, but it was not easy. But after doing it, I realized that this life that I've received for the second time is much more worth it. That's why I'm standing still and I'm going to steadily move forward towards my bigger dream that you asked me earlier, and I'm going to get it done.
That's beautiful. My God, what a great advice. You're right. We all went through major challenges, and the world, I mean, since 2020, right, the world has been on a directory of change, and we are experiencing change faster than ever. And if we cannot adjust to change and pivot as need be and pivot very fast, we will face some struggles. But I think the humankind is now challenged to grow from a conscious standpoint as well, but from also an emotional intelligence standpoint, because I think we were stuck in places that were unhealthy. So yes, it is challenging. Yes, it is hard. Yes, we have to revisit the way we have lived our life and also revisit our perspectives on life. But it is necessary. I don't think we have a choice, and you're an example of just that. You are taking care of your people, you're making commitments, you have ethics, and all those qualities are now becoming essentials. I think all the bad behaviors are now being naturally eradicated, and the earth is being cleaned up of all the negative, which leaves, but that is true, which leaves space for initiatives like yours that are going to be becoming critical. So that's beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you.
I liked your summary better than mine.
Oh, no worries. I mean, what you're doing is so critical, and I really thank you for taking the time to speak with me today at Leaders Uncut, Mahesh. It was a great honor.
Pleasure is mine, Catherine. Thank you so much.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for watching. Please share this video on your networks. It's really important for you to help me spread the message, spread all the new initiatives that are taking place in the world with people like Mahesh that are great entrepreneurs, that are great leaders, that are leading us in a way that is a lot more sustainable, a lot healthier. And together we really can change the world, but it's a united effort. We cannot do it on our own. So I count on you to share this message everywhere so that we can continue what we are doing now, spreading the good, changing the world, and together creating a better space for everyone to evolve in best ways possible. So again, thank you for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel, and we will see you next time.